Mr. Ambassador, dear guests, welcome to our panel. A very warm welcome. And, before starting, I'd like to thank you again, Mr. Ambassador, for promoting us during your keynote speech. We can clearly see that it was instrumental in having such a crowd. So thank you again. So, as I said, a very warm welcome. It's not really, sunny out there, but we have a great topic that will make, I think that has the potential to make everybody feel really okay and, smiley faces, feel really good. It's tourism. So it's really key to have a tourism panel in ATC in the sense that, we're writing right now history. It's the second tourism panel in the history of ATC. So that's really something. And apparently, not only limited to that one, we were courageous enough to basically put a target in the title of the panel. I think that is really unique. It's, as you can see, reaching 2 million tourists goal. So again, we have different, let's say, parties from the ecosystem of tourism, but one key is basically to reach that aim. Currently, with the 2023 data, we have in Turkey 1.3 million US originated guests visiting the country. Of course, that also includes Mr. Ambassador and Mrs. Ambassador's relatives, as he said. And effectively, we have the aim to increase that number in the short run to 2 million. So again, a very warm welcome. And I think, within this panel, we have a great, let's say, spectrum, a wide spectrum of different, let's say, panelists coming from the, let's say, tourism industry's ecosystem. So I have with me James Francque, the Global Head of Transactions of Hyatt Hotels Corporation. We have Faith Colvin here as well, coming from Marriott. Faith is Vice President for Global Public Policy and International Affairs. We have Hakan Özakbaş, coming from leading hotels of the world, and he's the Director of Business Performance Americas. Last but not least, basically, we have Fatih Durmaz. He is the one that carries, all the guests, all the tourism, to Turkey. So, from Turkish Airlines, also one of our panel's, let's say, sponsors. So Fatih Bey is the Vice President of North and South America for Turkish Airlines. So I'd like to also welcome our dear panelists to the panel, and would like to, start the panel with some fact-based questions, starting from James, if convenient. And the number one question would be basically you representing Hyatt. And we know that, especially after COVID, you're really growing the company big time. And, how does Turkey fall in the plans? And, could you tell us a little bit more on the story of Hyatt? Because I personally know it's quite a story over there. Let's start from that one, James.
Yeah, absolutely. Before I start, I just want to say thank you very much to Eryiğit for the invitation. It's a real honor to be here as part of the panel. Looking forward to it. Ambassador Flake here too. It's fantastic. And then from Hyatt's perspective, just to give you a little bit of history about Hyatt. Hyatt has been in existence for about 65 years now, founded by the Pritzker family, publicly traded now. We have about 1,300 hotels worldwide. I think about 210 hotels in the EMEA region, and about another 80 or so in our pipeline. Relative to Marriott, we're big, but we're not as big as Marriott, and so we have a lot of room to grow. And the way we think about our growth, particularly with respect to EMEA and Turkey, it's a critical part of our strategy. We have a lot of room to grow within Europe. We have a lot of opportunities within all the major gateway cities. And as we look at Turkey, we have 6 hotels currently, and we think there's just tremendous opportunity within the luxury space, resort, lifestyle, and we spend a lot of time thinking about how do we go about implementing that strategy. And Hyatt generally grows through what we call organic growth, signing one-off management or franchise agreements, and then also through inorganic growth, which is through more master franchise agreements, M&A transactions, and things of that nature. So we've got a team on the ground in Europe. We're based in Zurich, but we have a team of developers and a team of transaction leaders We have Javier Aguila, who I know you know is our group president of the region, who are highly focused on Turkey as an area in which we want to add more hotels, and love to get into that a little bit more later, but I don't want to spend too much time talking about this Hyatt at the moment. I want to make sure Faith and the others have a chance to weigh in.
Lovely. Thank you, James. We're gonna, of course, come back to you with regards to the potential, not only limited to that one, but also, your recommendations. But going with Faith, so Faith, you tell us about Marriott, the presence in the country, please, and also, any plans, because I'm basically specifically asking for the plans from the panelists, because the more, let's say, infrastructure we have, the more brands we have in Turkey, it's the likelihood to increase the short-term, I'm repeating, short-term goal increases. So, Faith.
Wonderful. Well, good morning, everyone. And this panel could not be better timed for me personally, because I was just chatting before the session. I have not yet planned my family's summer vacation. So this is sparking some serious, and the ambassador's comments earlier, this is sparking some serious interest. I think we need to go get some seaside time somewhere lovely in Turkey. But thank you so much for having me here today. Quick brief, Marriott was founded as a company 97 years ago here in the Washington, D.C. area, so we're coming up on our 100th anniversary. We have almost 9,000 hotels around the world, about 6,000 here in the U.S. and Canada, but 75% of our pipeline of new hotels, our growth, is outside of the U.S., and of course, Turkey is one of the leading markets for us. We already know Turkey is one of the most visited countries in the world. I think it was number 6 last year, so that's a fantastic place, of course, to be starting from and growing the number of tourists, and specifically, the purpose of the conference here today, the number of American tourists. From a Marriott perspective, we've been in the country for 4 decades, so we have a long history. We've grown rapidly in recent years. As of today, we have a footprint of 53 hotels across the country, and that's across 20 brands with more than 8,100 rooms. In a demonstration to the strength of the market, our recent growth, and also the potential, our president and CEO, Anthony Capuano, was just in Turkey at the beginning of April for his first visit in that current role. And he spent his time there, meeting with many of our owners and prospective owners, as well as talking to our associates, which is what we call our employees, and then also Turkish officials about, where we can take the growth from here. Marriott has doubled our footprint in Turkey just in the last 5 years, which is pretty incredible. And even through the years of the pandemic, which was probably, the most difficult time for our industry, certainly in recent history, maybe ever, we continue to grow at a compound annual growth rate of about 5% in rooms growth, which is pretty remarkable because that wasn't necessarily shared, across the globe. As far as Marriott's growth, we've seen growth across all segments, from mid-scale, which is sort of the tier that we enter on, all the way up to luxury. And we announced last year in 2023 a new global brand, 4 Points Express by Sheraton, at that mid-scale tier. And just as a demonstration of our confidence in the Turkish market, the very first hotel we opened up anywhere in the world for that brand was in Turkey. It was the 4 Points Express by Sheraton Bursa, which opened up in this January. So I think that's just one example of our confidence in the market, that we're willing to launch a global brand, first in Turkey before anywhere else. I will say, I can talk a little bit more sort of about our overall growth, but if I had to say sort of what the secret sauce is, I would say one major contributor is our incredible Turkish associates, our employees. We have about 6,300 people right now who work across our hotels. 100% of our hotel general managers are local hires, so they're Turkish, and I think that is incredible. And about 20% of those general managers are women, which is also great. And then here's another statistic to blow your minds and sort of get a sense of the potential for the industry. About 70% of our Turkish workforce is Gen Y, so incredibly young, much like the rest of the country, and I think huge potential for career growth and opportunity there. And I can talk a little bit more about our growth, now. So, overall, when we look across Europe, we have about 800 hotels currently open, and we have another 215 signed deals in the development pipeline. So in the next couple of years, we're looking to get to about 1,000 hotels in Europe. 40% of those new deals are conversions. So either, hotels coming into our system, from outside of it, or adaptive reuse projects. So taking a building like the one you're in right now, which is not a Marriott hotel, but is lovely, a former post office, and turning it into a hotel. And this is one trend we're seeing globally, and we're certainly seeing it in Turkey, which allows us to grow more quickly than with an exclusively new build strategy. When we look at Turkey and the growth, I would say there's a few trends we see there that we've seen, globally as far as our overall strategy. One, like I said, we're really leaning into luxury, and we're putting a lot of resources there. As a company, we see a lot of potential. On the other end of the spectrum, of course, we have the mid-scale tier, which was a new tier when Marriott entered it last year, but we're seeing incredible demand from both consumers as well as owners to have reliable, affordable hotels, in cities across the country and across the region. We also entered the all-inclusive market in the Caribbean and Latin America, and I think that has great potential for us in Turkey as well. And then a push out of sort of the traditional gateway tourism cities into secondary and tertiary markets. And then finally, during the pandemic, I think one thing we saw that helped to make destinations markets incredibly successful from a tourism perspective was to have that, sort of magic mix of domestic travelers, regional travelers passing through, air hubs, and then also international long-haul travelers coming, for sort of that destination travel. In summary, when we look at our existing pipeline in Turkey, we have 36 hotels in the pipeline right now, and that does include 27 new builds as well as about 10 conversions. By 2025, we are aiming to expand to open an additional 20 hotels, so another 40% growth just in the next year and a half or so. And we're also hoping to debut a couple of new brands in the country, including Moxy and Fairfield by Marriott. So I'll go ahead and stop there and hear about how everybody else is growing in the ecosystem.
Thanks so much, Faith. It's quite an ambitious growth, as you stated. So thank you again. Just, a couple of words. Yesterday night, during the reception at the Turkish Embassy in D.C., I had the privilege to approach Mr. Ambassador and, told him, well, Ambassador Flake, you're really great, and, we're so, let's say, happy to have you in Ankara, but not only in Ankara, because we are great followers of the, let's say, social media posts of Mrs. Flake. So you're the ambassador of United States in Turkey, but apparently Mrs. Flake is the ambassador of tourism of Turkey, abroad. So thank you so much for that one. And upon a couple of key spaces that, you've been to, and we've been following on the internet, on the social media, there comes basically Hakan Bey's corporation. So Hakan Bey, leading hotel of the world, just share with us what you've been doing and, the plans as well.
Thank you so much, Eryiğit. First of all, thank you so much for the opportunity to be here. I'm so grateful for being in front of you today. And I want to actually first talk a little bit about me, because I was born and raised in Turkey. I think it's very relevant to today's conversation. I must say that I have a dual citizenship. I'm Turkish and American, and I'm very proud to be an American and what this company has offered me in terms of what I've achieved in my life. I've been in the U.S. for 28 years, but just like many immigrants, I haven't forgotten my roots. I'm also a very proud Turk. I was born in Izmir in the west coast of Turkey, and I grew up there, and I went to an American high school, so I kind of had a taste of United States through my American teachers, and I always wanted to be in this country. But when I came here, I never forgot my roots because of who we are as people in Turkey, and because of what Turkey has to offer to not only its own citizens, but to the world in terms of art, history, culture, and community. And I'm very, very proud of who we are as Turkish people, who we are as a country. And I keep saying Turkey, I still need to get adjusted to the tall Turkey transition.
Well, so sorry to say that, but James and Faith got it, Turkey.
It's kind of ironic that I didn't, but they did. So they're right there.
I'm under no pressure now.
Yeah. And I also want to say I have, I had a bit of an identity crisis today, because I started my career as an engineer in the defense industry. So I almost switched the rooms, but I'm glad that I found my way to the tourism. I'm so happy that I landed in the tourism industry. But I have the most amazing job. I travel around the world for my job. Even if I had so much money, I probably couldn't have done it because I couldn't have found the time. I'm just applied for China visa, and they asked me where I've been in the last 12 months. I realized that I've been to 20 countries in the last 12 months, from Japan to Dominican Republic to Turks and Caicos to Stockholm, Sweden. This job gives me that opportunity, but as I travel around the world, I realize how Turkey stands out as a country because of what it offers. And this gives me the segue to my next discussion point, which is my company that I work for, Leading Hotels of the World. We are founded in 1928. It's a Swiss company. So we're celebrating our 100th year in the next 4 years. We are so proud. Our business model is quite different than Marriott and Hyatt, as we're privately owned, and our member hotels own the company. That sets us apart, and it's a privately owned company. It's 65 shareholders around the world. And the unique part about it is they do not want a dividend at the end of the year. So our primary motivation is not fees or obviously we need to make money to keep the lights on. But the primary motivation of the organization is keep the quality of our hotels at the highest standard level. We are a pure play luxury. We play in the pure play luxury segment. That means that we have the most iconic hotels around the world. I think nobody can argue, especially those who are from Turkey, that Turan Palace is probably the most iconic hotel in Turkey in the luxury segment because of its heritage from the Ottoman Empire, where the Sultan used to live. Now it's one of our member hotels. Then when you go to Tokyo, the Imperial Palace is also part of Leading Hotels of the World. Last night, I had the privilege of staying at the Hyatt, which is also part of Leading Hotels of the World. So no matter where you go in the world, probably some of the most iconic hotels are going to be part of Leading Hotels of the World. And quality is the most important thing for us. When a hotel is not meeting quality standards, we unfortunately part ways as a member. Is it a good thing for the company? Absolutely not, because we're losing fees. But more important for us is our reputation to be the top player in the segment. And all our hotels are independent. 90% of them are family or individually led. We don't really have financial institutions who own our hotels. And it's 100% luxury. We always make it very clear to our clients, our guests, that we're never going to play in any other field but luxury. And we are going to continue to have these most iconic hotels in every destination, every city. We have 400 hotels across 80 different countries, and they're all very unique in their own little ways. So it's not only Turan Palace we have in Turkey, in Istanbul, but we also have Durmaz on the Turkish Riviera. We have Bodrum Loft in Bodrum. And now we have partnership with all the Max Royale hotels. And they are coming up with their newest hotel. I was actually in New York City 2 days ago for the opening of the Max Royale Bodrum. We're so proud to have them. They partnered with Scorpios of Mykonos, so there's going to be a different flavor in Bodrum this year. They're opening soon. But like I said, we have we went from 2 hotels 5 years ago to 7 hotels currently, and we continue to grow because we believe that Turkey is a great market for, especially for the independent hotels, because most of Turkey's ownership is based on family or is by family or individuals. It's a perfect fit for us. But again, our growth projections is not based on quantity. I've been with the company for 13 years, and we always had more or less 400, 450 hotels around the world. Our goal is to never have 600 or 1,000 hotels. It's all about quality. And because of that, we only accept 2% of the inquiries that we receive. And we're also not shy about parting ways, like I said, because of quality, if the hotel is not meeting the quality standards. So it's a different business model. We have the luxury to do so because of our ownership structure, which is not fee-driven. But I think 13 years being in the company says a lot about why I have been there for such a long time, because I'm very passionate about the industry, the company, what I do. And as a Turk, I get to spend a lot of time with my fellow Turkish citizens and hotelier friends in Turkey as we grow our portfolio. I see some familiar faces here today, so really looking forward to the discussions for the next 45 minutes. Yeah.
Yep, we can continue if you like, no problem.
I'll
So-
continue forever, yeah.
Hakan Bey, thank you so much. And right now, Fatih Bey, I have to be very, let's say, honest with you. I didn't plan the applause when I mentioned about Turkish Airlines. So it seems that the brand has a resonance, of course, everywhere, but especially within our crowd. So the floor is yours. You are the one that really, bridges US and Turkey, of course, with some other airlines as well. But please tell us what you've been doing.
Well, I'm not the one personally, obviously. So we have a very successful and a very large team in our company. We're a very large family of more than 80,000 employees. So Turkish Airlines is a 90-year-old company, and we've had over the last 16 to 17 years tremendous amount of growth, especially in particular post-COVID. So just to give you a couple of numbers, I mean, our footprint in the US alone has more than doubled compared to 2019. And at the moment, we have 13 gateways. We're launching our 14th gateway in Denver, Colorado. And the last 5 gateways would have been opened in the last 4 years alone. And our current target is to double our footprint globally. We have a very large, extensive aircraft order. We have, somebody mentioned something about compounded annual growth rate. We have a compounded annual growth rate target of 7% over the next 10 years, hoping to reach double of our current fleet size by 2033. I'm trying to be as humble as possible when it comes to tourism, because it really is, the area of my dear fellow panelists. But as an airline, what we do is we facilitate. We facilitate movement, we facilitate travel, we facilitate engagement. And the engagement is only going to work when there are people willing to engage, when there are people willing to invest. So for us, having such leading hotel brands from all around the world, particularly from the US, have an interest in Turkey, willing to invest in Turkey is definitely something that is very, very welcome to us. Just to give you a couple of numbers, we actually carried our 1 billionth passenger last year, and we're hoping to carry 2 billion passengers by 2032. That's in a year, by the way. So we have this ambitious plans of growth, and all of this was actually spurred with our current management, our current chairman, when he first came on, and we had a meeting, and he said, "Fatih, I want you to target 2 million US tourists from the US to Turkey." And this was, I think, my second or third week at the job, and I scrambled to look at the numbers. And when I saw it was only 900,000, I'm like, this is not going to be easy. But luckily for us, we've been very fortunate. And last year alone, we had more than 1.3 million US tourists visiting Turkey. And that's around the 35% growth over the previous year. So our goal is to reach 2 million, but definitely it's to also surpass that. And that's only going to work with engaging with key stakeholders in the industry, like the hotels. Our strength, I would say, as an airline, is in our team as well. In each destination that we fly to, we have a local office, we have local teams, we have local travel agencies that really support us and really help bootstrap our traffic growth from that region. And when you look at our numbers, we have 75% transit, but 25% of our passengers are either ending their departure in Turkey or they're starting from there. So we do have tremendous amount of potential in terms of getting more tourists into Turkey. When you look at our fleet size and our network, to reach our goal of 2033, the only way that's going to be possible is to make sure that we have more and more people visiting Turkey. As you might be familiar, we have one of the best hubs in the world. which certainly helps. Our growth has only been possible because of that. Our schedule, on average, we connect people in around 2.5 hours to their next destination. So we have an excellent capability in that sense as well. And I think our greatest asset as an airline is to have Turkey as a country. And the reason I mention this is because there are a lot of airlines around the world, and obviously each one is trying to make their own footprint. And but you know, few have. If you ask me, nobody has a country like Turkey, because Turkey is very, very diverse in terms of, you know, gastronomy, history, in terms of archaeology. We actually have, you know, and it actually fits with our brand message of widen your world, because when you think of where humanity started, the oldest record of humanity, nobody would think of Turkey, but actually Göbekli Tepe, which is 12,000 years old, is in southeast of Turkey. So that's what we try to connect. We try to tell people that, you know, humanity started here, it dispersed to all around the world, and took many shapes and different colors. But if you would like to come and see where it all started, it started in Turkey, in southeast of Turkey, 12,000 years ago. And as a final, you know, remark before we continue, there's a very nice saying, and I'm born in Istanbul, although I lived almost all my life outside. One particular saying that I'm very, very proud of is that Napoleon says, you know, if the world were to be one state, Istanbul would be its capital. And I'm sure for those of you who have visited Istanbul, at least more than once, because Istanbul has many faces, would really appreciate that. It was for the cradle of civilization for a very long time, of religions, of understanding, of compassion. And I think in a world where more and more people are realizing that we have much more in common than our differences, I think having a destination like Istanbul as our hub, and our brand message of widen your world, of widening your perception of the world and of yourself, I think this definitely helps, and it's our greatest asset. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Fatih Bey. It's like you mentioned about hitting the 2 million target and beyond. You mentioned about basically history, you know, ancient times, Göbekli Tepe for sure, and not only limited to that one, but also culture. So all music to our ears. Right now, in the second essay round, I'd like to start with you, Faith. Like, from the Marriott perspective, you are the global organization, and apparently you are everywhere. So what drives the popularity of a country from Marriott perspective, and specifically, where does Turkey fit into that one?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, my first suggestion, obviously Americans, you know, love their brands, so more Marriott International hotels, never a bad thing.
Duly noted.
As our 200 million Marriott Bonvoy loyalty members will testify, and I'll leave it to our friends at Turkish Air. You know, a lot of times in these conversations when we talk about, you know, getting Americans, in particular, to a destination, airlift is key, and having, you know, relatively easy flights and connections, you know, from major U.S. cities, of course, is important. I think when you look across the globe, if we can look at some other, you know, countries sort of as examples who are leading the way, you know, a couple that come to mind in recent years who might be doing things well, or, you know, doing things a little bit differently, I think of Spain and Thailand. And each of those two countries has continued to attract record numbers of tourists, including many Americans, you know, post-COVID in this new golden era of travel. I think, you know, a couple of things that Spain and Thailand have done, they've purposefully looked to kind of shift their country's branding as a destination away from sort of a one-size-fits-all approach for the tourism offerings. And, you know, obviously I lived in Dublin, Ireland, and I think, you know, 2/3 of the country every winter would fly south to Spain for beach and sun and fun. Similar experience, of course, for many folks across Europe and different parts of the world to go to Thailand. And of course, you know, destinations, you know, including Turkey, have beach and sun, and that's certainly part of it. But I think looking sort of beyond that, you know, to what is the country's brand as far as travel and tourism, and kind of what are the unique offerings, can be helpful for a number of reasons. I think it sort of helps to create that, you know, vision of sort of that bucket list destination. When travelers want to go to Turkey, for example, you know, what are they thinking of? What are they saying, I have to see that? You know, whether you saw it on social media or a friend told you, or, you know, whatever the brand is. And I think it can also be great for the markets, for the destinations, because when a country or a market's able to diversify, you know, its tourism offerings, that means you can also sort of spread the tourism dividend across the country. So, rather than have it concentrated in a couple of those key locales or those, gateway cities, as far as the economic benefit, job creation, and then also alleviating, if there are any concerns about sort of overcrowding in just a couple of destinations, when you're able to, rebrand and spread it across the country, I think, that can make a big difference. For Turkey specifically, obviously, my colleague said, there are so many just natural assets and attributes that I think make it, kind of a great target from a branding perspective, to help set it apart from other destinations, in the region and around the globe. For Marriott, for example, when we're thinking about our growth in the market, you could think about the southwest coast of Marmaris for all-inclusive properties. You could have that sort of that beach experience. You could look at central Turkey for tourists who are into those beautiful geological formations, the natural beauty, ecotourism, sustainability, and kind of think about how the marketing might be different. And then finally, of course, Turkish culture, history, art is iconic around the world. And so using modern promotional tools to showcase this special cultural heritage, I think, is an incredible opportunity. And I have more ideas, but I'll stop there and let my co-panelists give some ideas as well.
Thanks so much, Faith, once again. And I'd like to continue with James. James, you're the head of global transactions. That really puts you in the, let's say, key driving seat with regards to all those transactions of Hyatt Hotels Corporation, so that you and your team are the decision makers, or basically sharing with the board the key decisions. Therefore, from that perspective, you take care of all the world transactions. Please guide us through what really is the trend nowadays and what really you think Turkey can fit in as well into that.
Sure, happy to do that. So Hyatt's transaction history is kind of interesting over the last 5 or 6 years, where we have transitioned from a company that owned more real estate than Marriott and Hilton, relatively speaking, and we've been selling off that real estate. We sold something like $4 billion worth of our hotels over the last 6 or 7 years, and retained long-term management contracts as we've sold. And with that cash that we've received from those sales, we've turned around and acquired companies. So as part of the transactions, it's both selling hotels, and we've bought hotels occasionally for strategic reasons, and then we've bought companies. So what have we bought? So, which is relevant for what Faith was just talking about too, in terms of how it fits into Turkey. So we bought a brand called Miraval, which is a well-being brand with 3 resorts, one of which is in Tucson, that is best in class when it comes to well-being. We bought a company called Two Roads Hospitality, which is a lifestyle brand, multiple lifestyle brands, which I think also fits in well with Turkey. We bought a company called Apple Leisure Group, which is an all-inclusive company, $2.7 billion acquisition, and allowed us to become the global leader in luxury all-inclusive, which, as Faith indicated, Turkey is a fantastic destination for all-inclusive. We think that it's ripe for additional development in the appropriate places that Faith mentioned. And most recently, we've acquired a company called Mr. and Mrs. Smith, which is a travel distribution company. They specialize in boutique offerings around the world, and some of the hotels are located in Turkey. I think around 20 hotels or so they have on their platform, a handful of which are now integrated into our World of Hyatt program. And then most recently, we acquired a company called Dream Hotel Group, which is a lifestyle company that specializes in more nightlife-oriented hospitality. So we've been very active, and that adds up to around $4 billion worth or so of acquisitions, and has contributed significantly to our growth, and also leaning into luxury, resort, and lifestyle. We've added a significant number of hotels this way, in addition to organic growth. And in terms of how that affects our thinking about Turkey, I mentioned all-inclusive. To me, it's an area that we are intensely focused on. When I was most recently in Europe a couple of weeks ago, we talked about Turkey specifically, even before I knew I was going to be on the panel. And what more can we be doing to drive growth in Turkey, specifically in the all-inclusive market. And I know our leadership team spends a lot of time in Turkey on that particular segment. I also think of lifestyle as an area, particularly in Istanbul and the other major cities, where I think it would fit really well into those destinations, and particularly as you think about the culture, the history of Istanbul, which I think is one of the major attractions for Turkey in addition to resort. I think Turkey is just in this incredible position that Faith summarized really well as far as kind of all the attributes it has, where a traveler, say, for the United States can really combine a wonderful, wonderful vacation by combining, being in a sort of urban environment, perhaps staying at a luxury hotel, staying at a lifestyle hotel, and then spending a few days on the beach, staying at an all-inclusive or European plan hotel. It's just, it has everything going for it. And, from Hyatt's perspective, with our loyalty program, which is called World of Hyatt, it has 46 million members. They are looking for destinations like Turkey. Our most typical traveler staying in our hotels in Turkey are from the United States, and they're pushing us. You need more in Turkey. So it's one of our major initiatives I've mentioned before.
Thank you so much. Very interesting to listen all those. And apparently we much look forward to developing more assets altogether.
Absolutely, yes.
On all sides. Talking about all those assets and the tourism, basically a couple of stats again. Back in 2019, it was 600,000 US originated tourists coming to Turkey, within the framework of total tourists visiting Turkey of 52 million. So that's something like 1% or so. And right now, not right now, but 2023, as I said, it used to be, it was 1.3 million out of the 57 million. So a dramatic increase. But what is really, in terms of more important from the perspective, is average spend per tourist. And that's my question to you, basically, Kamil. Let's talk about a little bit more on the average spend per tourist, where US, let's say, average US tourists visiting Turkey average is significantly higher than the overall tourists, let's say, spending in Turkey. So, what are your thoughts on that one? What is the tourist, let's say, what are the US tourists focusing on to go and then to spend money on?
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much for the question. So we call our traveler the curious traveler. The curious traveler is adventurous. They want to explore. They're not only about the product itself, the hotel product, but they're really looking for the experiences. And today's traveler is all about experiences. When they go to a different country or they go to a different destination, they want to know about not only the hotel and the experience at the hotel, but they're also looking for off-site experiences. I'm embarrassed to say that the first time that I went to east part of Turkey was 4 years ago. And since then, every time I'll go to Turkey, I go to Gaziantep just for food experience. I go in the morning, I come back at night. It's an absolutely amazing experience. I went to Göbekli Tepe, as Fatih said. It's a really goose-bumping experience, the 12,000 years of history that you experience there. So our travelers are expecting to find out more about the destination. It's not so much about the product anymore. And I remember when I was a kid, the first time I ever flew, it was with Turkish Airlines, actually. I remember it was a high-end experience. It still is, don't get me wrong. But it was, my parents put a tie on me, I put on a suit, and everybody was so dressed up, and it was just a high-end experience. It was a white glove service, white tablecloths. Yeah. We had our lunch, and we flew to our destination. And it is still, of course, important. The product is important. But why people flew with Turkish Airlines or why people go to explore different destinations is because of the experience that they have. I'm very loyal to Turkish Airlines. I think I'm too loyal. When I go to Europe, I go to Istanbul and come back. But it's because of the service. I know that I'm going to get top-notch service and my points, of course. Thank you. But it is what people are looking for is the experience. And Turkey, as I said before, is the beacon of art, history, culture, and community. And I think community, the people, is the most important part of this rambus, I should say. And I'll give you an example. A few years ago, I was running errands in Turkey, and I went to a bakery. Anybody who doesn't know what simit is? Everybody knows what simit is, right? So simit is a Turkish bagel with sesame seeds. It's my favorite food. I went to a bakery shop that was ran by a lady. I bought a simit while I was waiting for my tailor to fix up my suit, and I sat down, I started eating my simit, and the lady who was running the shop brought me a cup of tea. I told her I didn't order tea. She looks at me and she says, I know, but I'm not gonna let you eat simit without tea. It's on me. So I think that story tells you about the Turkish people, how hospitable we are. It's in our DNA to service. My butcher in Turkey, the first thing he asks me before I buy meatballs, köfte from him, when are you gonna cook it? If you're not gonna cook it today, I'm not gonna sell it to you. So because he knows the product that he sells is going to be best if it's fresh, right? So what I'm trying to tell you is there are a lot of emotions as opposed to transactions. So people in Turkey has a very high emotional intelligence. Sometimes I think it's too much. But the high EQ is what makes Turkey, the community component of Turkey, spectacular. I'm very proud of that. And because of that, the experiences are very high level. Food, the tea example that I gave at the bakery shop, imagine that happening in every leg of your journey in Turkey. I got married 2 years ago, and of course I had a lot of American friends who came. Many of them are world travelers, and they've been to Turkey many times. And they went to the usual places like Sultanahmet and other places, but they went to, I put together a very, very local experience, and they all told me that this was the lifetime experience. It wasn't about the luxury, it wasn't about the quality of food or quality of the rooms that they said. It was the experience what really made it very memorable. And I think Turkish people is great at that. And I'm so proud of it, and it's in my DNA too, and that's why I love this industry. And what's really important for us, and I'll wrap it up, is sustainability. It's at the forefront of everything that we do. Many of our hotels have the sustainability badge through Global Sustainable Tourism Council. As a matter of fact, in Turkey, 950 hotels already have a certification on sustainability. 17,000 hotels are in the process of getting it. And Max Royal Antalya is the first hotel in Turkey which is a leading hotels member, was the first hotel to get certification on sustainability. So we're very, very proud of that. And when I say sustainability, I'm not only talking about single-use plastic. I'm talking about, again, it comes back to community. What are our hotels doing for their communities? Are they supporting education? Are they supporting the unprivileged people? Are they supporting people who are in need? So this is extremely important to us, and this is part of our DNA as a company and part of our culture. So yeah, I mean, I think I said most everything that I wanted to say. Because of these experiences, and I'm gonna tie it, people want to spend on subsectors like food and history and culture and museums. It's not only about the hotel stay anymore, which is still important, but experiences is what really sticks. Memories is what people remember, not the product. So, and that's all I want to say for now.
That was a really, strong sentence, what you said. And experience. Yeah. Experiences, and basically, Fatih Bey, experiences that, Turkish Airlines are going to bring guests to Turkey. So the floor is yours with regards to the overall strategy of Turkish Airlines from US, to take more and more people to Turkey within the experience framework, because Turkish Airlines and, Tourism Ministry of Turkey are the two key drivers with the related agency that really promote the tourism in Turkey in US. So your words would be very much important in designing the future.
So when we strategize, we try to divide it obviously into small bits and pieces. And I think the most important thing is market segmentation. There are a lot of people that go to Turkey for different reasons. There are business owners, there are people who are visiting, friends that are getting married in Istanbul, and there are travelers who go as families. There are travelers who go as solo female travelers, which is becoming more of a trend. Cruise is coming back roaring into Turkey. We have an excellent cruise hub in Istanbul called Galata Port. So when it comes to strategizing, we try to segment the potential tourists and passengers, and then do plans for each one. So just to give you, a couple of examples, we work very closely with U.S. Chamber of Commerce and the local chambers of commerce in different cities in the U.S. and their Turkish counterparts into hosting a lot of business get-togethers, much like this one in Turkey and in various parts. As most of the people in this room are familiar, Turkey and the U.S. have a goal of increasing their mutual bilateral trade to 100 billion, and that's only going to work through obviously more and more engagement on the business side as well, and it feeds into tourism, and tourism really feeds into that as well. We also target people who are traveling via Istanbul to their final destination. There are a lot of times when, because of our location, you can fly to, by the way, more than 50 major cities around the world within just 2-hour flight time. So yes, it might look like a backtrack, but if you think of how small of a backtrack it is when you go to, for example, Italy or south of France or Greece for that matter, Istanbul is an excellent connecting hub. So what we do is we offer our passengers, in case they're flying on economy, we offer them 2 nights free of charge accommodation. And if it's a business class, we offer them 3 nights free accommodation on our behalf through our hotel partners, to try to entice them to stop in Turkey, get to see what the city has to offer, either on their way to their final destination or on the way back. And I think with after the pandemic, I think a lot of people are appreciating more and more the wellness side of things. There are a lot of companies right now who are trying to optimize their their employees' travel based on when they're flying, how long it's going to take. So after a long flight into Europe, taking 2 days off just to do that, bleisure, what's called as bleisure, and now it's business and pleasure at the same time, is becoming more and more of an uptrend, and we're really seeing an uptick there. So we really try to capitalize on it, and it's been phenomenal for us, because what we see is that once people get in Istanbul, and we have an excellent CRM process, we really monitor, try to see what our passengers are doing in their subsequent travels, is that once they use the stopover program, most likely the next time they travel, they're going to use it again. And not only that, we see that they book a standalone ticket to just Turkey. So we really see that energizing and incentivizing more and more travel to Turkey. We're also a very pet-friendly airline, so pets are becoming, pets are in many cases part of the family, right? And we have excellent service when it comes to that. We're looking into doing more pet hotels where your pets are taken care of in Istanbul. And we're a very pet-friendly airline in that sense. We in fact allow passengers to actually book for their pets via our booking engines and via our app. So it's a very seamless process, very, very easy, so that your other family member also gets to travel with you seamlessly. So it's really a host of things. It's not easy to just summarize all of this in a couple of minutes. But I think the most important aspect, and what we really value, is that we exchange a lot of market intelligence and information with our stakeholders. As my co-panelists here today, the best thing between us and them is that we complement each other, and there is a complete overlap of interests. So we see what works, and then we also ask what works for them, and we come together to do these familiarization trips, both for media, for influencers, for key decision makers, for travel agencies, to really also learn and engage with the industry as much as possible. And we've seen the benefits many-fold, many times, and that really is the secret to our success when you think of it. It's engaging with the industry, engaging with our peers, and reaping the benefits together. Thank you.
Thanks so much. As the ecosystem players, we'll do our best to, support you in your successes. So in the concluding remarks, in all the panels that I moderate, I tend to go over some keywords that I take as a note during the stuff. So my keywords, thanks to all the panelists, is growth, more branded hotels, culture, gastronomy, Göbekli Tepe, Istanbul, experiences, pet-friendly, you said, and ecosystem players complementing each other. So that's been a, I think, wonderful panel. Thanks so much to my old fellow panelists. And apparently, a couple of wish list statements. So, you know, number one wish is we continue to have the panel on tourism. You know, we can frame it like hospitality or tourism, but we continue to be, you know, having this panel, to have this panel. And second wish is basically maybe in the next panels to come, rather than reaching 2 million, why not 5 million? So that's it. Thank you all. Thank you. Thanks, James, Faith, you know, Hakan Bey and Fatih Bey. Thanks again. And thanks for our dear guests. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.